I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be why attachment to goal timeframes causes tremendous and unnecessary suffering. Well, what we're going to talk about today, obviously, is setting goals. And there's certain goals that you can quantify based upon doing or taking a certain number of actions to ultimately achieve a particular result. But there's other goals where there's so many variables and so many unknowns that you simply don't know if something's going to take you 5 years, 15 years, 20 years to accomplish something when you first start out. And I talk a lot about, in my videos and my articles, what causes suffering, and that's becoming attached to things that are totally out of our control. For example, like I've noticed, like especially lately, a lot of the questions I've been getting and a lot of the clients that I've been talking to, a lot of the suffering that I see that they're going through is because they become attached to things that the women that they're dating or the things they got going on in their life happening in a set time frame, such as they start dating a girl and they want her to fall in love with them in a certain time frame. And then when that time frame comes and goes and she's still not in love, what happens is the guy starts to become fearful. He starts to pursue more. He starts to chase more. He starts to try to force things. And it makes things just spiral out of control. Or say you've started a brand new business and you think you've got the greatest idea since sliced bread, and then it's only going to be another 2 years and you're going to be a multimillionaire when you don't even have your first customer yet. It's like thinking like that, the 2 years comes and goes, and then 4 years comes and goes, 5 years, 6 years, and you're still no closer to figuring out your business model than you were when you first started. Well, that could be incredibly frustrating. And it's really important to talk about this because some goals in life, you can accomplish it in a short period of time. Example, like when I'm dealing with salespeople. Say a guy, he wants to get to $500,000 a year in income. And he's in the sales business. And in the sales business, when I sit down and I analyze guys that are trying to improve or increase their sales or hit their sales targets, what I start looking at is what are the most important critical activities that you perform in your job that leads directly to you getting compensated. And like for salespeople, a big part of it obviously is what I like to call, I got this from some of my professors in college, it's what they call butt time, which is in other words, time that you have your butt in your chair in the classroom. Obviously, when it comes to sales, it's getting clients to come in and sit down in front of you so you can do a sales presentation. So if a guy says, I want to make $500,000 a year and the average commission that I make on a sale is $5,000, my next question to the guy is, okay, well, how many people do you have to meet with in order to accomplish one sale? And the guy says, well, I've got to meet with 20 people or 30 people. And I say, okay, great. Now you can take that number and then you can basically back in, if you're going to make X amount of this, if you want to make $500,000 a year and you got $5,000 commission per client, it's simple. You just divide that $5,000 into $500,000 a year, and that tells you how many clients you've got to have. And then you take how many clients you've got to have, you divide it by 12, and that tells you how many sales you got to make each month. And if it takes 20 or 30 people that you meet with just to get one sale to make $5,000, then it's easy to do more division to figure out exactly how many people you need to meet with Monday through Friday on a consistent basis, day in and day out, week after week, month after month, year after year, so you consistently hit your sales goals. So when you have goals like that you can actually break it down and quantify it, yeah, you can put a time frame to it. But like I had a client the other day, he had this goal that I'm going to be married and I'm going to be with the love of my life by X date. Well, that date has come and gone several times. And it's obviously incredibly frustrating for him. And think about it. If you expect to be in a relationship by a certain period of time and you haven't even met somebody that you really knocks your socks off, you may be dating and hooking up with girls, but nobody just fucking blows your doors off. Somebody that like as soon as you wake up in the morning, she's the first thing you think of. And then like she's on your mind the whole day. I'm talking about somebody like that. And so you expect that person to come along, and then they don't come along in your time frame. Well, when we want reality to be other than it is, we suffer tremendously. And so when you're, like, giving an example, like if you're starting a business, a brand new business from scratch, I'm going to go through a few quick examples here of some things. I don't know if you watched the Grammys, but the band called Fun, they had, I don't know, 3 or 4 hits in the past year. It just seems like they came out of nowhere. They won like Best New Band, Best Song, and it was really interesting because when the singers, the group was up there accepting their Grammy Award, I think it was for the song "We Are Young." He's saying that he's talking about how long it took him to get there, and he said when we were doing the video, they're singing the lyrics "We Are Young," and they're singing the lyrics of the song, and like in his mind he's thinking, we're so not young anymore. We've been at this shit for over a decade. And the interesting thing to say is he said it's been 12 years. They got together and started touring 12 fucking years ago. They just won a Grammy. They won like 3 or 4 Grammys. 12 years ago these guys started. It's like they didn't just start out, you say Best New Artist, you think, oh, they've had a band for a couple of years. Right? That's the first thing that we think. But we don't look at the fact that these guys have been struggling and living hand to mouth and probably living out of the back of a tour bus or shitty hotel rooms or whatever. I have clients that actually are on tour right now and they're trying to make it in the music business. And they're grinding it out. They're finding a way to motivate themselves. And so this particular band, everybody's like, oh, they're the greatest. They're the best new band ever. And like, these dudes have been together for 12 fucking years. And it's like nobody wants to pay attention to that or all the hard work that went into it. And I had another thing. I was watching a movie the other night called Conviction. It was with Hilary Swank and Sam Rockwell. It was a really good movie. It was actually based on a true story. And so basically what happened was this guy got convicted, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago for murdering this woman. And this was before DNA evidence came to light. So anyways, this guy goes through all the appeals process. And so basically he's stuck in prison the rest of his life. He's exhausted all of his appeals, so he's pretty much fucked unless some new evidence comes to light. And since he's poor, he doesn't have a lot of money, and there's nobody really willing to help him, his sister was really close to him. And she says, I'm going to get you out. And it's like she hadn't even graduated high school. And the amazing thing to me is that this woman spent 16 years of her life. Because she couldn't just go to school full time because she didn't have any money. And so she had to work several jobs and part-time, go to school part-time, get her GED was the first thing. Then she had to get into a community college. Then she had to start taking some classes. Then she got into a 4-year school. Then she had to get into law school. 16 years. Can you imagine? 16 years of motivating herself to, it's like it totally ruined her family. She just sacrificed everything to get her brother out of jail. It's an amazing story of perseverance. This 16 years, that's just to get her law degree so she can actually legally do something to help her brother. And it was a couple of years after that. And so by the time all this is going on, like DNA evidence, they started being able to do DNA testing. And then first they're looking, and apparently because it had been so long since her brother was convicted, that they destroyed all the evidence. So now all the DNA evidence is gone, and there's no way to clear her brother. Well, it comes to find out that, she went to the courthouse where the records were and got this, poor old lady who had looked several times herself and had her assistants look, and they couldn't find it. They were like, it had to have been destroyed. And so she goes and says, will you please look? Will you do it for me? She's like, all right. So she reluctantly looks herself another time. And she comes back out and she's got the box of evidence. To make a long story short. And so she presents this and she gets her brother off. Took close to 20 years to do it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having something that is so emotionally compelling to you and you're so passionate about that you're willing to lose money on it, or you're willing to spend 2 decades of your life pursuing it? And that's why Steve Jobs said that when you choose something in life, you must follow your heart. You must follow your curiosity. You must follow your intuition. Because they somehow already know what you want to become. And the main reason is because what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, it takes a long time and it's really hard. And when you look at Pixar Pictures, which went public back in 1995, became, I think it was like $1.2, $1.3 billion valuation. Most people don't know that Steve Jobs bought that company from George Lucas of Star Wars, the Star Wars creator, for $5 million back in 1985. And they fucked around and fumbled with that business model for 7-8 years and just lost millions and millions of dollars. I think Steve Jobs said he had almost half of the money that he walked away with from Apple when he was kicked out in the early 80s. He invested half of his fortune into Pixar Pictures. So you imagine he's got half his fortune in there. It was like over $50 million. He still doesn't have a successful business model. And the technology evolved to the point where you realized, hey, we could tell a really great animated story. So let's partner with a company that's really great at telling stories, which was obviously Disney. So they got the Disney people along with Pixar's animators, and they made Toy Story. And that didn't come out until 1995, a full decade after. So he lost money for a decade. Who's willing to lose $50 million on a company when all your friends are going, you're a fucking idiot, dude. You got all this money from Apple. What are you doing wasting this, computer-generated nonsense? You're wasting your time, but you've totally fucking lost it. You're out of your mind. Can you imagine all the shit he had to put up with? But he persevered, and he did it, and he launched Toy Story, had a huge success. 3 weeks later, they have an IPO after Toy Story launched, and it's $1 billion company. And then several years ago, I think it was 2007, Steve Jobs sold it. It was like $11 or $12 billion. Steve Jobs' family trust is the largest shareholder of Disney. That's something to think about. That is the win. That's the payday. Just like the Grammy nomination, or selling your company for $7-8 billion and becoming the largest shareholder in a company like Disney. I mean, those are the results of hard work and doing something you have a passion for that you believe in. It's so important. And so what I want you to understand about this is that if you can quantify things, set a time frame to it. Meaning you can look at the actions you got to take, specific, known, quantifiable actions is going to get you a certain goal. But saying, hey, I'm going to meet the love of my life by next week, or I'm going to figure my business model out in 5 years, you're setting yourself up for failure because you set unrealistic goals. And when you constantly set unrealistic goals, you have to keep pushing back the date, it's demoralizing to you. And that's why it's so important that you choose something that's really emotionally compelling, something that you have a burning fucking desire to do. I'm not talking, if you're approaching your goals, your dreams with, oh, I just want to do it because I'm going to make a lot of money. If that's why you've chosen something, that's totally the wrong approach, and I guarantee you pretty much will never become wealthy with that kind of attitude. You have to focus on adding value, doing something that you have a passion for, because the passion is what's going to drive you through year 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, year 20, whatever it takes in order to ultimately get to where you want to be in life. And so I want to leave you with a really great quote by Ralph Marston. He says, every day is an opportunity to make your life the way you want it to be. Anything is possible when you work toward it, one day at a time. Skip a day and you lose momentum. Try to do it all at once and you burn out. Steadily, consistently work, making every day count, and you will reach your goals. Today is a chance to grow, to do a little bit more than you did yesterday, a little bit better, a little bit more effectively. Anyone can do a little more, learn a little more, and grow a little more each day. And soon, with consistent effort, those little bits add up to major accomplishments. Is there something you want to change? Today is the day to start changing it. Is there a new customer that you want to land? Today is the day to start making it happen. Do you need to lose weight? Today is the day to start doing it. Not next Monday or next month. Today. You deserve to reach your goals as soon as possible. Control today, and you will control your life. So if you want to get my help right away, go to my website, click the Products tab, which will be at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking a paid phone coaching session. And I will talk to you soon.